But it is for a fundraiser. Who's the charity?
It's Shop with a Cop, well, Shop with a Hero, the Grayson Joy House, and the Special Olympics.
Okay, so that's similar to last year. I believe we had it last year as well. All right, we'll start in just a minute. All right, Rick, you ready? I'd like to call this Whitfield County Board of Commissioners meeting for the 14th day of August 2023. If all will you silence your cell phones and rise for our invocation followed by the pledge.
Let us pray. Our most kind and gracious Heavenly Father, we do pause to say thank you for all the blessings you have bestowed upon us. Dear Heavenly Father, forgive us where we fail you. Dear Heavenly Father, we also thank you for living in such a country as the United States, dear Heavenly Father, and we just pray now for all the men and women in service who are pledged to protect our country. Dear Heavenly Father, we just pray your graces upon them. Now, be with us as we deliberate tonight, dear Heavenly Father, and go with us and guide us. Thank you for all you do. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, may the record reflect we have 5 commissioners present and our quorum requirement has been met. The commissioners and the public remain aware of the agenda approximately 7 days ago. Quorum requirement has been not aware of any changes to the agenda. The commissioners and the public remain aware of the agenda approximately 7 days ago. Quorum requirement has been not aware of any changes to the agenda as published. The commissioners and the public remain aware of the agenda approximately 7 days ago. Requirement has been not aware of any changes to the agenda.
All in favor, raise your hand or say aye.
The public remain aware of the agenda approximately 7 days ago. Requirement has been not aware of any changes. Regular consent items related to our budget amendments remain aware of the agenda approximately 7 days ago. Requirement has been not aware of. There are
Minutes were also sent out. Favor, raise your hand or say aye.
budget amendments remain aware of the agenda approximately 7 days ago. Requirement has been not aware of. There are
Minutes were also sent out. Favor, raise your hand or say aye.
budget amendments remain aware of Mr. Thomas, second by Commissioner Jones.
Minutes were also sent out. Favor, raise your hand or say aye.
Budget amendments remain aware of Mr. Thomas, second by Commissioner Jones.
Minutes were also sent out. Favor, raise your hand or say aye.
A little bit weird, so we're Pamela will come forward from our field and we'll start with our weird, so we're Pamela will come forward from our field and we'll start with our weird, so we're Pamela will come forward from our field and we'll start with our weird, so we're Pamela will come forward from our field and we'll start with our weird, so we're Pamela will come forward from our field and we'll start with our Pamela will come forward from our field and we'll start with our Pamela will come forward from our field and we'll start with our Pamela will come forward from our field and we'll start with our county money on so I appreciate you helping us maintain our budget too. County money on county money on county money on We've got a presentation from our ACCG with our state rep, Casey Carpenter. We've got a presentation from ACCG with our state rep, Casey Carpenter.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Dr. Handel. I'm with ACCG, Association of County Commissioners, and I'm here tonight to present Representative Carpenter with the Handel 2023 Legislative Service Association of County Commissioners in the legislative session. And I'm here tonight to some language he's been working on for a number of years concerning digital legislative services Association of County Commissioners retailers and brick-and-mortar stores. And I'm here tonight to some language he's been working on for a number of years concerning online retailers and Association of County retailers and brick-and-mortar stores. And I'm here tonight to some language he's working on for a number of years concerning online retailers and Association of County retailers and brick-and-mortar stores. And I'm here tonight some language he's working on for a number of years concerning online retailers and Association of County
You don't give the politician a microphone and he doesn't say a word. So, it's kind of weird. Just look at everybody. We turn that. You don't give the politician a microphone. All right, that way I'm seeing everybody. So, it's kind of weird. Yeah, you're all right. It's not bad. Politician. So, just a heads up about this bill. Obviously, there's been a big movement and change in the way consumers are buying products. So, just a heads up about this bill. Obviously, there's been a big movement and change in the way consumers are buying. So, just a heads up about this bill. Obviously, there's been a big movement and change in the way consumers are buying. So, just a heads up about this bill. Obviously, there's been a big movement and change in the way consumers are buying. So, just a heads up about this bill. Obviously, revenue, state revenue, sales tax so, just a heads up about this bill. Obviously, revenue, state revenue, sales tax bills such as this one. So, just a heads up about this bill. Obviously, revenue, state revenue, not necessarily about sales tax bills such as this one. So, just a heads up about this bill. Obviously, revenue, state revenue, not necessarily about. Anyway, I really appreciate you guys. So, just a heads up about this bill. Obviously, revenue, state revenue, anyway, I really appreciate you guys. So, just a heads up about this bill. So this ball's passed. Anyway, I really appreciate you guys. Continue to get by this bill. So this ball's passed. Anyway, I really appreciate you guys. Continue to get by this bill. So this ball's passed. Anyway, I really appreciate you guys. I appreciate you doing it. You're not saying this ball's passed. Anyway, I really appreciate you guys. Thank you very much. Appreciate you guys. I appreciate you doing it. You're not saying this ball's passed. Anyway, I really appreciate you guys. Thank you very much. Appreciate you guys. I appreciate you doing it. You're not saying this ball's passed. Anyway, I really appreciate you guys. Thank you very much. Appreciate you guys. I appreciate you doing it. You're not saying this ball's passed. Anyway, I really appreciate you guys. Thank you very much. Appreciate you guys. I appreciate you doing it. You're not saying this ball's passed. Anyway, I really appreciate you guys. Thank you very much. Appreciate you guys. I appreciate you doing it. You're not saying this ball's passed. Anyway, I really appreciate you guys. Thank you very much. Appreciate you guys. I appreciate you doing it. You're not saying this ball's passed. Anyway, I really appreciate you guys. Thank you very much. Appreciate you
Actually, in
guys.
September, I believe, September 17th is Constitution Week, so we all want to follow the Constitution.
Thank you very
Let me
much.
get this out of the way now because I think September 17th is Constitution Week. This is the part of follow the Constitution. Whereas the Constitution of the United States is the guardian of our liberties and bodies constitutional. This is the part of republic dedicated whereas the law. Let me get this out of the way. The guardian of our liberties and bodies constitutional. This is the part of republic dedicated whereas the law. Let me get this out of the way. Whereas it is the guardian of our liberties and bodies constitutional. Republic dedicated whereas the law. Whereas it is the public law 90% bodies constitutional. Here by the United States of America. Whereas it is the public law 90% bodies constitutional. Now therefore the County Board of State of America by whereas it is the public law 90% bodies constitutional. Now therefore anything you want to say about the activities or anything whereas it is the public law 90% bodies constitutional. Now there, anything you want to say about the activities? Now there, anything you want to say about the activities? Now there, anything you want to say about the activities? Now there, anything you want to say about the activities? Now there, anything you want to say about the activities? Now there, anything you want to say about the activities? There's also a local group that's trying to get a constitution to every student, and I think they finished in Dalton and now they're working with the county. So that's there's also a local group that's trying to get a constitution to every a little bit large student, and I think they finished in Dalton and now they're working with the county. So that's there's also a local group that's trying to get a constitution to every a little bit large student, and I think they finished in Dalton and now they're working with the county. So that's there's also a local group that's trying to get a constitution to every a little bit large student, and I think they finished in Dalton and now they're working with the county. So that's there's also a local group that's trying to get a constitution to every a little bit large student. I think they finished in Dalton and now they're there's also a local group that's trying to get a constitution to every a little bit large student. I think they finished in Dalton and now they're there's also a local group that's trying to get a constitution to every a little bit large student. I think they finished in Dalton and now they're there's also a local group that's trying to get a constitution to every a little bit large student. I think they finished in Dalton and now they're a little bit large student. I think they finished in Dalton. Hearing, so we'll vote later in the meeting, but this is a public hearing. I think there's only one engaged mini mark. Hearing, so we'll vote later in the meeting, but this is a public hearing. I think there's only one engaged mini mark. So we'll vote later in the meeting, but this is a public hearing. I think there's only one engaged mini mark. So vote later in the meeting. Are you the new owner, or is this a previous us, or just package in one? Vote later in the meeting. Are you the new owner, or is this a previous us, or just package in one? Vote later in the meeting. Are you the new owner, or is this a previous us, or I'd like to speak in favor of package in one? Vote later in the meeting. Are you the new owner, or is this a previous us, or I'd like to speak in favor of package in one? Vote later in the meeting. Are you the new owner, or is this a previous us, or close the public hearing. To speak in favor of package in one. Vote later in the meeting. Are you the new owner? All right, now is the time where we do the reports for each commissioner. Close the public hearing. To speak in favor. We had a great grand opening with our food bank. All right, now is the time where we do the reports for each commissioner. And if you didn't see that in the paper, we had a great grand opening with our food bank. All right, now is the time where we do the reports. Partnership. It wasn't just the county that was in the paper. County tax dollars and grand opening with our providing grant writers, partnership, technical capabilities for our staff. County tax dollars and grand opening. Chattanooga Area Food Bank. Grant writers, private donations that were made, and of course the state helping a grant to fund this. And so the expansion is complete. They've got 3 dock doors, a refrigeration for fruits and vegetables, a freezer for keeping proteins like fish and turkeys and things like that frozen. So they can serve over 5 million meals out of that facility. So hopefully nobody in Whitfield County, or of course they'll serve surrounding counties as well, will go hungry. So it's a great thing. If you haven't been down there, it's a really nice looking facility. But the main thing is it's efficient to get the food in and out and get it to the people that need it the most. I know a lot of people are here to go over to give us their opinion on the TAD, to discuss the intergovernmental agreement that we have on the agenda tonight. I know there's a lot of words on here, but it was a nice, just one-page document. This actually is from the Dalton Daily Citizen on Saturday. I just kind of bulletized their points there. I thought that was a really well-written article. It kind of covered all the bases. It was easy to understand because this is a complex issue. And if you complain you don't like it because it's complex, I'm right there with you. So there's no debating that, but that is what we have to work with. So I just wanted to make sure we're all on the same facts. The people can review these facts and be for the TAD, or in our case, the intergovernmental agreement, or they can see these facts and be totally against it. So I respect it either way, but I think we do need to honor that these are the legitimate facts that we have in front of us, and don't make up our own facts. So the voters gave the city of Arnell the power in 2014 to create TADs and to have TADs within their city limits, much like Dalton has. I fully understand that the unincorporated county voted down a TAD, so there can be no TAD in Cohutta. There can be no, Beaverdale. There can be no TAD in Rocky Face. But the city of Varnell has had this along with the city of Dalton for almost 10 years now. They created the TAD, so we're not creating the TAD. We have no power to create a TAD. They did that almost over 2 years ago in the city of Varnell. Some people have asked me, like, why are we waiving their taxes? They will pay the exact same tax rate inside the TAD as the other taxpayers in the county pays. We're just deciding what to do with those funds, not giving them any kind of tax abatement is the technical term, or reduction. And also the other fact is a lot of people said, hey, I voted down the TAD. I don't want any of my tax dollars going into that TAD district. And that's completely the way the law is written. We are not allowed to put tax dollars from, like I said, Beaverdale or Rocky Face, any of the unincorporated areas, or Dalton for that matter, cannot go into that district to be spent or reimburse any of these expenditures. That's the way the law is written. You don't have to take my word for it. There's 4 TADs in Dalton, and that's the way they're set up. Nobody has paid onto those Dalton TADs that's outside of the city limits of Dalton. I know some people are concerned about the Board of Education, but we don't control them. The City of Council, the Board of Education, they've already voted. It may be a valid concern, but we don't control them, and they've already voted. So what does our agreement do? A lot of people have seen that $17.1 million online and on social media and things like that. That is an addendum in the contract which just lays out everything that the developer is going to spend. That is not what the tax dollars that are going to be reimbursed. That is not anything related to our deal. We are allocating $2.5 million into the recreation, which of course is a subset of that $17 million. So if somebody tells you we're giving them $17 million, there is no way, any formula or any kind of magical way that they'll ever get $17 million. They will only get $2.5 million from us, and that has to come from new revenue, new assessments that are not there today. I mentioned it has to do with rec. So there is commercial buildings, there's residential, and there's proposed recreational areas such as a walking trail, music, arts district, amphitheater, of course, public parking. All those things that are generally available to the public are what our money can go to and nothing else. It can't go to any residential, it can't go to any area outside of the commercial area, and specifically only recreational items in that area. So we can flip back to this if somebody has a question or concern about that as well. This is a complex model. I have sent it to a couple of people that have asked for this in the public. The commissioners got it last night. But this just forecasts the revenue. It really doesn't have anything to do with the agreement, but there was an independent company that looked at the first, I think there's 50 homes that have sold, so that's the people we're talking about, the 50 people in the TAD so far. Of course, there'll be more people later. And they calculated, based on those sales and the value, what over 10 years in new revenue would be generated. So this is not the $2.5 million. This is on top of that would still come to the general fund of the county and could be used for anything countywide. And for 10 years, their estimate was $1.96 million. I don't know if that's high or low, but there will be new revenues is kind of the point there. And then over 20 years, of course, the number is much higher because the TAD will expire after 10 years is the estimate. It will expire, and then all the revenues will flow, and so you'll get an additional $10 million over the full 20-year time frame that the model has. If anybody would like a copy of this, I'm happy to share that with you. It's a big, long spreadsheet. But again, it's not really related to the agreement, but I thought it was valid that we look and see what the estimate of taxes coming into the county would be even with a TAD. So this is all assuming it passes. And that's it for my reports. Commissioner Jones? Commissioner Thomas? Commissioner Staten?
I know the Trade Center doesn't always get the best reviews. Sometimes it may or may not.
You're our
benefit the
representative
county,
there,
but
yep.
The car show 2 weeks ago
That's right.
was pretty interesting. Folks in town, cars, yeah, very good turnout. So Margaret, I saw her somewhere, good job, and keep it going.
All right. Commissioner Robbins?
No, I have a library board meeting on Thursday.
Coming up.
Yep, coming up.
And our county administrator, Mr. Civic.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the commission, members of the public are here or watching at home on the internet. I guess the first thing I want to do is take the liberty of supplementing Chuck Fetzer's remarks about our Employee of the Month. I will tell you that Pam doesn't just do a great job here with the county. I think she went home, and the reason for that is she comes into work at the crack of dawn to get the place in shape for the day. But Pam also is a volunteer with our CERT team. That stands for Community Emergency Response Team. I like to call them the shock troops that the county has when there's a disaster. They're the folks who deliver food, water, whatever may be needed in the event of a natural disaster, flood, tornado, or whatever it may be. She does that. She's also a counselor for 4-H as well. So, but most importantly, I interact with Pam quite a bit because she works right across the hall from my office, and she's one of the sweetest, nicest people I've ever met. So I wanted to emphasize it as well. She's not just a good employee, but a great human being as well. On to the report. The first thing I want to talk about is the Senior Center Luau. That is going to take place on Thursday, August 31st at the end of the month. It's bifurcated into two events. The first one is during the day. That starts at 10 a.m. They'll have refreshments. They have free photos, door prizes, some entertainment in the form of skits by the Senior Center staff. They will have a line dance performance by the Wranglers, which I believe is one of the dance groups that traditionally works out in the dance studio. Hula lessons as well. So if you've already mastered ballroom dancing, hula is your next step. And the lunch will be served at 12 p.m. For those who are 50 or older, it's $3. For those under the age of 50, it's $4. Then the evening activities begin at 6 p.m., and that involves a Hawaiian dinner beginning at 6:30. And I want to make note of the fact that we've had a pig donated, and Chuck Fetzer is the grill master. He will be cooking that for at least 12 hours. We don't want to undercook that pig. We'll have chicken, potato salad, baked beans, rolls, tea, and lemonade. There will be a dance after the dinner, and the music will be provided by the Senior Center staff. Song requests are welcome. I guess that's a DJ situation? You're the DJ. You're the DJ. Okay, all right. And the cost there, and you can't beat this, is a low price of $7 per person. But we would ask that you call the center and sign up in advance so we can make sure we have enough food for that evening. That begins at 6 on Thursday, the 31st, and ends at 9 p.m. Also, you are encouraged to dress up in Hawaiian attire. So break out those loud, flowery shirts, short pants, grass skirts, but I must insist, no coconut bras. This is a family establishment, so we won't have any of that. All right.
Getting louder, man.
Now the other topic is a little bit more serious. Tomorrow at 2 o'clock, right across the street here in the Accountability Courts building, is the grand opening or open house for the Whitfield Murray Conesaga Community Addiction Recovery Center. And I just want to give a little background information on this. A lot of times, county government and local government in general is criticized. I read the Forum in the newspaper about how we handle tax dollars. And I want to clear up a bit about that the county's elected leadership and appointed management works very hard on maximizing resources and using them in an efficient manner for maximum effectiveness in providing services and addressing community problems. So as you probably have all heard recently, or actually over the last couple of years, there's been a class action suit related to opioids. We know that opioid addiction has just devastated the country. There was a class action suit suing some of the distributors and manufacturers, the pharmaceutical companies, and Whitfield County is expected to get anywhere from $500,000 to $1 million. Murray County will get a slightly lesser amount because of their smaller population. And months ago, with the elected leadership and with the appointed management, we decided that rather than just take this money and use it just for operations or for easy no-brain expenses, we decided to look at this as an opportunity for really just fundamental change in the way we do things, and this would provide us that ability to do so. So we contacted our sister county, Murray County. They're on board with their opioid settlement money, and we have ours. And we made use of existing county talent, existing county office space over there across the street, and we've used the infrastructure of our Superior Court, specifically their accountability courts that's in place. Now this program, I'm very excited about it because unlike drug court, where you end up in that and they do a great job and they provide help for people, this is for people before their lives fall apart. This is for people who have a substance abuse problem before they lose their job, before they lose their family, say in a divorce, before they lose their liberty and end up in a jail cell. So what we're trying to do is to address those problems early on. It's not only the right thing to do, but as far as tax dollars, and we're going to hear a lot about that tonight, but as far as tax dollars go, it is an investment that will pay off dividends in spades, because the cost of addressing a substance abuse problem before someone loses a job, a family, their liberty, is a heck of a lot cheaper than the cost of having somebody in jail, et cetera. So will we solve the drug problem, the addiction problem? No. But I want to emphasize that your county leadership, your county management is making a concerted, a very Herculean effort to address this problem, to make this a better place to live.
And there's no charge for
There's no charge. So, and we have a lot of people who have a problem. They don't know where to turn. They may not have health insurance. So we're using this windfall from the settlement to finance that rather than other purposes, et cetera. So we're hoping that will get used and it will benefit the community as a whole. Battle of the Badges, I think we've already kind of gone over that. That's Saturday, September 9th at 10 a.m. in beautiful Riverbend Park. As the chairman said, it's a tournament for our four public safety agencies: Dalton Police and Fire, Whitfield County Sheriff, Whitfield County Fire. We'll see who the champion ends up. We'd encourage you all to come. I know that online you can buy T-shirts for the event. Val, do we have a link on on our website, or can we put one up?
Yes, and it's also available on our Facebook page.
On the Facebook page. Those T-shirts are $15, but what I want to emphasize is every dollar that's raised, I mean every dollar, will go to those children charities that we discussed earlier. And just to reiterate, Grace and Joy House, Shop with a Cop, that's for underprivileged children at Christmas time. Law enforcement takes them shopping for Christmas gifts, and Special Olympics. So we all know that that's a good cause, or good causes. The other thing I want to mention is I want to thank Val Molina, our public information officer. She was integral in the production of that video you saw up there, and I would say that the production quality is very, very high. Fortunately, the Hollywood actors and writers are on strike, so we won't lose Val to a Hollywood movie studio, at least for now. So let's keep that strike going. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Right. All right, we have a new presenter, Ms. Debbie Godfrey, for our financials this month.
About 15 questions.
Going forward.
Very kind. Okay, so we start with our sales tax, and year-to-date, we've collected $7.2 million, which is 1.4% over 2022. Our vehicle tax is up $4.6 million for a total collection of $2.8 million. Our year-to-date revenue is $21.4 million year-to-date, which is 11.6 over 2022. And our year-to-date expenses are $26.7 million, which is pretty much even with what we expected it to be. So that's good. Those are all green arrows, as we've all talked about.
We like those.
Total revenue is $21.4 million actual collections through June 30th. Our projected was 9.2, and last year we were at 19.6 million.
Yeah, there was some one-time in there, so we thought it would drop down, but it's more than made up for that one time, so that's
Yes,
good.
it's continuing to grow. Total expenditures year-to-date are $26.7 million. We had projected $26.7 million, so that's also a good thing. And over last year, we are up a little bit, but again, we all know how prices are going. Year-to-date versus our budget year-to-date is 2.2 million greater than projected, which creates the 2.2 million surplus that we see. And our fund balance is actually 27.5 million as of June 30th, but we're projecting it to be 34.5 million at the end of the year with our revenue collections. And our SPLOST for 2020, as of June 30th, we had collected 60.1 million. We've spent 34 million has been spent through June 30th, and this also takes care of our 20.3 million paid in debt services for the year, or for the annual, for the period.
Questions for Ms. Godfrey?
Motion to accept the financial.
Motion by Commissioner Robbins to accept the financials as presented. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Staton. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your hand or say aye. Any opposed, nay. Passes on a 4-0 vote. All right, now it's time for our public comment. I thought we would do it just like we do the alcohol beverage public hearing a minute ago. Let everybody that wants to speak in favor go first, then everyone who speak against it to go second. I just remind you that we don't want repetitive. If somebody takes your item, then either just don't speak or just say, hey, the person already took it. The point I was going to make. So no repetition, so we can somehow get through it in one evening. And make sure you're respectful, as I'm sure you will be. No name calling or anything like that. I will take the first group that wishes to speak in favor. Again, the TAD is already created. We're calling this the IGA, their agreement with Varnell. Yeah, you have 5 minutes, and please state your name and address for the record.
Good evening. My name is George Smith Barnett. My address is 156 Mulligan Drive, Cohutta, Georgia. Live right next to Knob North Golf Course. I'm a retired teacher. I taught within Whitfield County Schools for 31 years, and at Berry and at Lee University part-time after that. All of my adult life has been invested here in Whitfield County. You're now looking at a proud grandparent, and I'm excited about Emma. Matter of fact, I could talk about more than 5 minutes about Emma. But I'm here tonight to express that I am definitely in favor of this TAD. And the reason for that is I feel like that we have been given an opportunity. You know, TADs were developed, if the way I understand it correctly, to help communities, originally for blighted areas, but also expanded to where we could do things to build our infrastructure. I really do feel like from where we are that we need to do things to help our community grow more. I don't know that not taking advantage of this will help that. I do think that if we do take advantage of it, that we can see our areas grow, we can see our businesses grow, and we all know that people tend to gravitate toward where things are being successful and growing. So I'm here on behalf of myself and my wife. She's at home right now. But please know I appreciate every one of you. I know these are difficult decisions to make. I make no pretense about it. But I also know the way I feel about it. And I'm hoping that if we take this opportunity 10 years from now, 15 years from now, our area is going to grow even more. And my Emma's going to have a better place to live as she gets older. Thank you for your time.
My name is Tom Dixon. I'm the mayor of Varnell. I live at 5043 Village Drive, Cohutta, but it's actually Varnell.
I would hope the mayor would live in Varnell.
Yeah. If we can ever get that changed, we'll do it differently. I appreciate the opportunity to stand in front of you to tell you that from my personal opinion, this will make a difference in the lives of the residents of Varnell. But beyond that, it's going to make a difference in the lives of anybody virtually in the county, because all of the things that are within the area that deals with the TAD in Patterson Farms are all going to be available to the public. The restaurants, the commercial structures, as you pointed out, the recreation part that the county will be actually putting their money towards. All of that's going to be available. Yes, it's a short-term reduction in what you could have gotten if the TAD wasn't in place, but the long-term result is additional revenues that will pay back throughout the life of the entire county. I've had several chances to vote on TADs. Of course, I voted as a Varnell resident to allow TADs. I voted along with, I didn't get to vote in the city election, the city council election, but it passed unanimously with the city council. I did vote, I would point out, as a legislator. And as a legislator, the legislature has worked on TADs for years. They constantly refine it to make sure that it protects the viability of cities and counties. So I did have the opportunity to vote for a TAD piece of legislation as a legislator. But we appreciate your interest in this and encourage you to be a partner with the city of Varnell and improve access to everything that we have. And if you have any questions, I'd be more than glad to answer them.
Okay, now or?
Whenever the chairman allows me.
Well, they need to hear you on this Facebook. Yeah,
Okay.
that's good.
I read something yesterday. Current inflation is costing the average American family $7,000 plus a year. Okay? You're a retired educator, correct?
Correct.
You were the superintendent. I remember you were a teacher at Pleasant Grove Elementary when I was just a young lad.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think of your educator pension? Is it pretty good?
Obviously, I like it.
Okay. Did you speak at the Board of Education meeting
Yes.
and you recommended that the board give up to $6 million? Is that, do I have my numbers right, or is that wrong?
I couldn't quote the numbers without having them in front of me.
Okay. You served in the state legislature with my father, is that
Right.
correct?
Yes, I did.
And was he on the school board part of the time that you were superintendent, or just
Not while I was
teacher?
superintendent, but while I was a teacher and principal.
Okay. If someone had came to the school board when you were superintendent, teacher, and they asked for $6 to $8 million, the school to give up now. I know it's not $6 million all at one time. What would you think of that? Would that be a good idea to take the immediate needs of our county children that attend our public schools? Do you think they need the money even now? Do they need it more now, or does the developer need it more now?
I recommended to the county school system that it was a worthwhile venture for them to be a part of, because A, this development as it starts, is not going to add any additional cost to them. Any revenue that comes from it is going to be additional revenue. We made in all of our conversations with them, we said, if a number of students become a part of this development, we'll adjust the figures to accommodate any revenue that you need to take care of those kids.
Who will adjust those numbers? I'm not, who will, the city of Arnell, if this passes, will they adjust the numbers? Or who, do you know who would adjust those numbers?
The city of Arnell would be the lead in doing that, but the county will be a part of developing the agreement with the developer, and the county school system will be a part of that process. So they would all have a voice in that.
Okay, so and that's what I thought the case was, because looking at the agreement that we're probably going to vote on tonight, it's a moving target, is what it is, in my opinion. So the city of Arnell is asking the Board of Commissioners to trust the city of Arnell with millions and millions of dollars to do the right thing, and we don't even know the details of the deal. And that seems...
I would say, in answer to that, in the process of preparing the IGA that you will vote on tonight, the county commissioners, through your commission chairman, worked extensively to make sure that you would have plenty of opportunity to be a part of the process, to look at expenditures, be a part of anything that's done.
When
When it's done, when
So,
there's
but
decisions to be
it's
made.
not done yet.
John, when there are decisions to be made, there will be a representative from the county commission to be a part of that.
Who is that member? Do we know yet?
It just says Board of Commissioners, but the other thing is the county engineer reviews the drawings, the quotes, and the bids before.
Oh,
they
I'm not concerned about our engineer. I'm number one concerned about our schools and the taxpayers of Whitfield County.
We're not allowed to
And-
do anything with their agreement with Board of Education's.
I understand that, and I find it interesting. Are there any members of the Whitfield County Board of Education here? No.
Because the tag can go forward as it is right now, you know,
Yeah, so
with their money, yeah.
is $6 million not enough? Does the developer want to get obviously every penny possible? Is $6 million not enough?
I think you know the answer to that. You're a developer yourself. You know how to make those decisions.
I do, but, you know, I'd have to leave the county if I ask the citizens, if I had the nerve to ask the citizens of this county to kick in even $50,000 for any development I'm doing.
I would say that each of us is entitled to our own opinion.
Any other questions for the mayor? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
How are y'all?
Great.
I'm Carter Hayes. I grew up in Rocky Face, Georgia. I moved the past 5 years. I moved to Middle Tennessee, lived right outside of Nashville. Lived there for 5 years, and me and my wife, who I met there, just moved back to Varnell. We live in Patterson Farm, and Something that was attractive about Patterson Farm is a neighborhood offering what we're used to in Middle Tennessee, amenities that we're used to there, and I would hope you would vote yes to the TAD to where it can bring more young professionals like us back to Dalton. Thanks.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Dean Stamper. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My wife and myself and our 5 children live on the north end of town. We love living here in Whitfield County. I work for Shaw, and throughout the 20 years almost that I've spent with that company, we've hired a lot of folks. And unfortunately, a lot of the younger professionals choose to live elsewhere. And I think a lot of that, I know a lot of that stems from the offerings that Whitfield County does not offer. And so I've come to each one of these sessions where we've had the opportunity to speak because I want to reiterate how passionate I am about the opportunity to attract and retain young talent that can feed back into this community for decades. We have a lot of people here who earn a lot of hard-earned income but spend it elsewhere because they take the money that are from our vibrant companies and they choose to live elsewhere where, like the gentleman that spoke before me, they can raise a family with the amenities that attract young couples and therefore young families to those locations. I look at it as through a different lens than I did even just 5 years ago because my eldest son is now in college. He wants to work for a company like Shaw, but I'm fearful that when he looks at the life he'd be able to afford here in Dalton, it isn't one that he would be attracted to because when they're going to school in the middle of Atlanta and trying to get an education and they're an up-and-coming professional and they're used to living around places where you can eat and work and live and play all in the same area, we don't offer much of that here yet. I'm hopeful that that changes because now it affects my family too. So it's not just wanting more for our community, it's selfishly wanting my kids to live, love, and invest in this community as we have, because that's the way we're going to make the Dalton of the future what we want it to be. And I'm so glad that Varnell stepped up because I think that this will be an awesome example of how this can work for our community. Now, it's a small test opportunity, and it requires some faith on your parts and the parts of everyone here today. But I think I know it's a lot of money. I'm not discounting the fact that $2 million or $6 million that the school board is already committed to is a large amount of money. But it's one that I think we need to take the opportunity to invest because it will attract people that will bring more of that money back into our communities and invest. And I hope my son is raising his family here with more and more people attending Dalton Public Schools or Whitfield County Public Schools because that's how we grow a more vibrant community. So I won't take any more of your time, but thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Hello, my name is Dan Peoples. I live at 700 T-Top Drive. I'm a business owner in the community, on the north end of the community, and I am also the former mayor of Varnell. I would like to speak tonight to ask you to approve the TADs because I believe it will increase business, population in our north end of the community. When I was the mayor in 2013, when I still had a full head of hair, I remember trying to make the north end grow with little projects and things we had. And now this is an opportunity that I only dreamed of, to have restaurants and retail shops and things like that. And just to echo what Mr. Carter said, and Dean, I think it would be fantastic for our community. Now, when my father built our funeral home back about 40 years ago, I understand that nobody gave him a TAD or helped him with his business, either the property or the foundation footers or anything like that. And when we built our funeral home in Rocky Face a few years ago, once again, nobody helped us either. But a few years ago, my wife and I were in the privilege of being a part of something called Leadership Georgia. It's a program that the governor's office puts on for what they feel are up-and-coming leaders. And we went to, I believe, 7 different towns and communities in the state of Georgia. And every time we went, we saw things that were exactly what Mr. Dean was talking about. We saw places where you could walk to an amphitheater and walk to a restaurant and then go do shopping. And it made for a great experience when these college graduates were getting out, or even people that didn't go to college. They were flocking to these places like crazy. And a lot of it, I can't stand here and say 100%, but so many of the times when the governor's office would show us those things, they would say, a lot of this is because of TADS. The county helped build this, took a reduction in taxes, but now it has paid back tenfold, maybe even 100-fold. One example I remember is I went to LaGrange, Georgia to see the Kia plant, which now employs like 4,700 people. And you ought to see the other buildings and factories that are around it that help supply parts for these Kia factories. It's on 85 if you've never seen it. And a lot of people were against some of the things that the state of Georgia was helping do for this Korean factory. But I think you'd be hard-pressed now, if you go see what they've done, to see the millions of dollars they spent has brought back tens, if not hundreds of millions of revenue by stepping up and putting some money forth, but then it pays back. Like Mayor Dixon said, it's an investment. So I would like to ask you as a small business owner to please approve this, because I believe it will help the north end of the county grow tremendously.
Do you know about how many homes have been built there?
In Varnell or in?
Patterson.
Patterson's? Gosh, I don't, John. I would say 100 maybe.
So
50 have sold.
So people are flocking there already without us giving them money to build a few commercial buildings. Is that fair?
I believe
think it seems to me they're really, really selling fast. And so to me, it's kind of like corporate welfare. Now, everybody's got their opinion, so anyway, they're coming anyway. They're buying those houses, and that's great. And, why don't you and I get together and open up a restaurant there? We won't ask for any help. Would you be willing to do that?
No, I think I'd rather have some help from the county.
That's what I thought. Okay, I'm good.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dan.
Sure. All right.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Sorry, I didn't plan on speaking tonight. Obviously, I just came because the ACCG was coming. But as a proponent of TADS and one that's using one in the city of Dalton right now, I'm obviously in support of the TAD, and I'll tell you why. Because, how long has the city of Varnell? How long has the whole north of the county existed? When has anybody on their own tuition decided to do this kind of project, to bring this kind of commercial development to the north end of the county to this magnitude? Nobody has. So my question is, if that hasn't happened without a TAD, and they're saying that they're going to do it with a TAD, and we're talking about forgiving money that we don't currently have, so we're not necessarily giving money to the people to develop it. What you're doing is you're saying, you spend this money, and we're going to forego money. So if they don't do anything, it really doesn't. You're giving away figment money at the end of the day.
I disagree.
I mean, philosophically, if the project doesn't happen, it doesn't cost the county anything. If it does happen, the commercial part, if the commercial part does not happen, what does it cost the county? No. If it doesn't happen, it costs the county zero.
That's right. We're not.
Guess what happens if it does happen? It costs the county zero.
Slow down. I went to county schools.
So the commercial, if the commercial does not happen, it costs the county nothing.
Why don't you, do you think?
Let
me ask you a question.
Okay, yeah, fair enough.
You represent us.
Yes, sir.
So you think, and correct me if I'm wrong, if somebody wanted to build a restaurant there and the developer would sell them some of the property, do you think that's fair enough, or do you think the taxpayers ought to give that potential person opening up a restaurant or the developer additional money. I don't think Robbie got any money when he built the Dairy Queen, which is a great place. I don't know. Maybe, so anyway, that.
Here's what I'll say. I will say with the cost of construction, if you're going to build a commercial development to this magnitude in the north end of the county, if you don't figure out a way to make it to where restaurants come in and the rent can be affordable enough for them to make it, they'll never make it.
Right.
That's what
So
I'm
the
telling you.
taxpayers
No,
should
but you're not, but you're,
get
but,
the
but you-
houses are being built, Casey.
yeah, I'm not talking about the housing. I'm talking about the commercial
But
piece.
that's where part of the money's coming from to subsidize that, or from the houses that are there. Where does that money go?
So my question to you is this: if the commercial doesn't happen, right, and it's just residential, we've got great houses on the north side. That's great. We got more housing. We need more housing. Nobody's against more housing. Where does the commercial come in?
Well,
How does
we
that
got
work
a
out?
Boatload of space there by Robinson's.
And how long is that
And
set there?
we've also
How long is the
got-
stuff by Robinson Salvage
got
set there?
A while.
10 years?
So,
15, yeah.
10 years,
what
right?
do you think about green
So-
space at Patterson Farms?
What's that? I'm sorry?
Green space and walking trails.
I think that adds value to the property.
Is it too far to go across the street a half a mile at Edwards Park that the county taxpayers have spent their hard-earned tax money?
Have you been to Edwards Park on the weekend? Where are they
I've
going to
been
park?
there
Where are they
probably-
gonna park?
I've been there a lot.
Yeah, me too.
I've
And
walked
we
there a
spent a
lot.
lot of baseball time
We've never
up
had a
there.
concert at Edwards Park that I'm aware of.
And there ain't nowhere, it's crowded, already crowded, from people not even in our community. Our community doesn't even hardly use the Edwards Park on the
Oh,
weekend.
yes, we can.
It's, okay.
But anyway,
So what I'm saying is this: the commercial part doesn't happen without the TAD. The TAD is set up so you're giving away money, fake money. It's fake money. Because you're foregoing property taxes that would not exist anyway if the project didn't happen. So you're giving away money that you're giving away fake money that you would not have anyway. And you're going to bring in revenue from the sales tax side that far surpasses what you would have gotten property taxes every year out of that
how long
place.
is that gonna take? I don't
You'll get it every month.
know.
You
No,
just,
most
you,
of
we
it's
just,
going
we
to
just saw a slide up there that showed that sales tax revenue for the county is up 10% this year. You're talking about the commercial development out there would bring in $10 million in revenue, which is $400,000 a year in sales tax revenue.
Wonder how long that'd take.
I'm explaining to you how it works. You're talking about $400,000 into the county's coffers from sales tax revenue from that commercial development. And I would challenge you that half of that money will be coming from people from Cleveland and everywhere else. So this is money that they're not spending here in Dalton right now. We're not taking money from the citizens.
You think people are going to come from Cleveland
Absolutely.
to come to Dalton?
Absolutely. And that's what we should be looking at.
Yeah, people.
Is how do we become a mecca for people to come here and spend their money instead of people going to Chattanooga to spend their money? And I think that's what this is trying to do. And for the record, I'm not opening a restaurant up there. This ain't about Casey opening an Oakwood at Patterson Farm and have cheaper rent. This is saying my project downtown is going to do a huge thing for downtown. It would not have happened without a TAD. And the same thing on the north side. It won't happen without it. And the residential's great, but it's the commercial piece that you don't have going north. You've got Wendy's and McDonald's.
Fast food is only all fast
So
food.
5 minutes. Sorry to hold you up. Thank you.
Additional people in favor? All right, is that it? Okay, anyone in opposition?
All this is great about all this tax money and everything, but I want to address the TAD itself. I'm sorry? Oh, I'm sorry. Vicki Quinault, Cuyahoga Beaverdale Road, Cuyahoga, Georgia. I feel confident that I speak for a fair number of the residents on the north side. Your vision is not our vision. That is the heart of this matter. We weren't paying attention, not because we don't care, but because your predecessors, for the most part, did what we asked of them. We could trust them to make good decisions. The TAD started way before any of us were aware of it. All the work pretty much went on behind the scenes. When we found out about the TAD, the first mention of it, we started fighting it. We fought it from this podium from the first time we heard it, and we're still fighting it today. You were working on it during the election of 2021 when it was up for a vote. The TAD powers were vetoed, yet you still continued working. You didn't care what the vote came out to. Our vote didn't count. You weren't listening to us anyway. You ignored us. And in spite of our votes, you found a loophole on this IGA so that you could run this TAD through. You didn't care. Our vote was our voice. You ignored it. You did not violate the law, but you sure trampled on the spirit of the law and on our votes. And here you are, stealing our votes and our voice again. I think you all will agree that we have fought very hard through the ballot box, not once, but twice, and from the first moment we heard of TAD. Gentlemen, my grandparents, my parents, left me a legacy of patriotism and democracy. Yet, how can we look anyone in the eye and say, we are proud to live in a county where our direct elected representatives work behind the scenes, behind our backs, to undermine the voice of the people? Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. Deny the TAD. Show everyone that we have leadership in Whitfield County that is worth respecting, believes in the people you represent. And you'll do the right thing to mitigate the damage that these actions have caused. Do the right thing. Vote to deny the TAD.
Evening, Matt Coker, 4485 Cote of Arnell Road. I'm going to try to make it as quick as possible, but it's kind of long, so bear with me. Good evening. It's obvious there's been public backlash towards the TAD. The people have spoken. In fact, we the people made a pretty strong statement about TADs when we voted not to give Whitfield County commissioners the power to create them. I believe that many thought we were rejecting all possible TADs going forward. I believe many Whitfield County residents wish to do just that. The public has been told that the TAD will lead to lower property taxes and more affordable housing. Residential units in the Patterson Farms development will start in the high 275s, but most of the units being pre-built for public sale are in the 400,000s. This housing is not being built to be affordable, it's being built to be profitable. If and when many housing units are sold that trend towards the higher end of the property value spectrum, it increases the surrounding property values. This is beneficial only if property owners are interested in selling their property for profit and moving. If you are thinking that sounds like a good thing, I would say you do not know your constituents. Many residents have been here for generations. Many residents prefer lower taxes, not relentless growth. Fiscal conservatism, not handouts for developers. Traffic-free roads as opposed to bumper-to-bumper traffic. Many new residents move here for lower taxes. Imagine their surprise as they watch their property and school tax spiral higher and higher year after year. I'm going to go a little bit off the script here and say that there has been a lot of talk about the school's money. For anybody that doesn't know, most of the school's money comes from state sources. So we're already strapped for cash when it comes to our schools. And yet here we are trying to give out more money. Thank you, John, for hitting that point so hard. I really appreciate that. The
public has been told that this will result in more tax dollars in the future. This looks a lot like property speculation with our tax dollars to hopefully earn more tax dollars. First, this is not guaranteed to be a success and could end up like the other empty storefronts on Cleveland Highway, which apparently is what 50-plus financial institutions think will happen since they rejected financing for the project the TAD would fund. Second, this is not how we use public funds. I am deeply disappointed to see this relentless pursuit by many of our community leaders to give our tax dollars to private interests. But I guess that's okay since Casey informed us that the TAD money is just monopoly money, right? When you realize the error of your ways, you will come to us taxpayers and ask for another SPLOST or some other tax hike. Isn't it sad that you are willing to let your constituents bleed in one of the most economically challenging environments in years while giving millions in tax breaks to a private developer? Commissioners, I have news for you. We could all use a tax break in this county, but we'll continue to pay our fair share without receiving any of it back from a TAD. Jevin, you've said that you would respect voters' wishes. You've also said that you've yet to decide whether or not you would vote for the TAD. I feel that the public response has been strong enough for you to already have a good idea of how your constituents feel, but since we need to say it again, Jevin, please vote no to the TAD if you get the chance. Barry, you were supposed to be an honest church-going man, yet you sit before us with unresolved questions about potential conflicts of interest. You failed to answer the Chattanooga Times Free Press when they asked if you still worked at the bank that is doing business with the developers behind the Patterson Farms development. You claim that you will not benefit financially. You're not going to stop me. I reclaim my time. You claim that you will not benefit financially, yet have declined to answer any further questions and have failed to offer any proof of your claims that you will not benefit. I ask you again to do the right thing and recuse yourself.
I'll give Commissioner a chance to talk now.
I have addressed this issue about recusal a number of times, and I have no financial interest in Patterson Farms, whether it is a success or if it is a failure. I do work with the bank. I did respond to the Chattanooga Times Free Press question, and I told them that I don't care if you saw it or not, I responded.
He said it was after his deadline. The reporter admitted it was after the deadline.
Oh, the reporter told you that?
Well, it was in the paper. It said after the deadline. Yeah.
Okay, well, anyway. I do not.
Response. I can verify he replied.
And I've consulted with our county attorney. I have no financial interest in Patterson Farms through my employer or through this Board of Commission, and I have consulted with our county attorney, and I just don't have financial interest. So that would be one point where I would have to recuse myself. It doesn't exist. So period.
If you would like to make a comment, you have to come to the front. Others that want to speak in opposition?
Mike Coker, 4485 Cutter Varnell Road, Cutter, Georgia. My question is, and it's not rhetorical, but does the bank that you work for, are they financing Patterson Farms?
Well, a matter of public record would be to look and see if Biltwell Bank has a lien on that property, and I think if you looked, you find out they do.
Okay.
So yes, but
Okay. That's all I need.
I don't know the details. But again, I get no compensation from that under any circumstances. I was going to have you because you were very disrespectful and wasn't listening to me while I was talking.
Okay, your time is up. So others that want to speak in opposition?
Good evening. Sorry if I stutter. I get serious stage fright.
Okay, take your time.
I don't do well public speaking, so I made some notes to help my mommy brain. My name is Lauren Phillips, and I live on Prospect Road Northeast in Dalton. I'm not opposed to TADs on principle. I'm just opposed to this one. We live closer to the north end of the county, and we have been looking at Patterson Farms area for my mother-in-law to live. She has a great income, higher than the median income here in Whitfield County, and she cannot afford to buy in Patterson Farms. She cannot afford to live there. And, sorry, I'm losing my train of thought already, even with the notes. I understand that y'all are trying to put the good of the county first, that y'all are trying to think for the future of the county. And no disrespect to the seniors in this room, but my son and I represent the generation that will see the result of this after 10 years, after 20 years. We will still be here, and we will still see the side effects of this. The same as we lived through COVID, and we saw the effects on the economy. There have been a fearful amount of ifs in this room tonight. If it succeeds, if it fails. That's not the kind of surety that I think we can count on for this county. That's not the kind of reassurance that I want for my son, knowing that if we live here in 25 years, will it still be profitable to the county, or will the county be still bleeding money? I noticed the numbers that you were so nice to post up there, Mr. Jensen. Did that increase in tax revenue include the increase in our property taxes that will result from all of these high-end buildings and commercial institutions being put in?
That's only income from Patterson Farm itself. It's not legal for your money if you don't live in Patterson Farm, or your mother-in-law decides not to live there. It's not legal to put your money in there or to spend any of your money. That's only from that area. 50 people live there.
No, I was wondering if the county was going to make even more money if our property taxes go up. If the county property taxes go up as a result of it being less agricultural and more residential and commercial. Most of our friends we know live in this county because it is a small town county. We love that rural feel. That's why we didn't move to Fordo or Rossville or something. We wanted to live out here where it's quiet and where there's peace and we get to know our neighbors. I love that all the people who came up in favor of the TED, almost all of them are business owners. And so yes, it makes complete sense that they argue in favor of the TED. This is where their heart is. This is where their vision is. But we the people, the working class who live here, we don't want this. And Mr. Staten,
Yes, ma'am.
you're our representative, and I have heard some good things about you and some bad things, but I'm taking you on face value, regardless of what anyone says. I appreciate that you run a good business in the Dairy Queen, and I appreciate that I believe that you will listen to your constituents and vote against the TAD, because that is what we have asked you to do. I'm almost done. Give me a second. The track record for TADs in this county is not reassuring. Some of them have worked, some of them have kind of flopped. We're not seeing as quite a return on them as we had appreciated. I understand that y'all want to add the commercial aspect especially, because if we build it, they will come. I looked up where that quote came from because I couldn't quite remember, and then I found out it came from Field of Dreams. What they built was a field full of ghosts. Please don't make that be our county.
Thank you, fellas, for letting me have a few minutes to talk with you. I don't know if you're keeping a watch, Mr. Jensen, but it's 5 minutes. One thing that's come up with a lot of school talk today, and I didn't intend to have this, just happened to have it with me. Just one FYI, and I passed this out once before, these facts go back about a year ago when the last census was done. In Whitfield County, the number of people who are 25 years and older who had a high school degree, diploma, not a degree, a diploma, was 71%. That means 30% of the people had okay? And that compares to, let's say, Fulton County at 93%, and all the counties around us are about the same as we are, running anywhere from 72 to 90%. So to me, that's not a very good record. And it bothers me to sit here and listen to us talk about how we're going to take money away from the school or not take money away from the school. And I'm not sure, quite frankly, that we're sincere about what we say and what we do. But let me talk about tax allocation. I don't call it tax allocation district. I call it what do I call it? I call it a tax, where's my goal? Yeah. My wife got my figures for me, and don't have it all in line. You counting that time?
Do I need to pause it?
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Pardon? What about my voice? But anyway, TAD is not as complicated as sometimes we get to thinking it is, but let's first of all talk about you gentlemen. You're, as far as I'm concerned, you're grateful to hold the office you hold, and you have said that you will support the Constitution of the United States and the state of Georgia, right? And then as a commissioner, you support the people in this county. And the point I'm getting around to is, are you supporting us fairly and equally? Think about that. Or are you supporting us in some other way? And a word that I want to talk about TAD, the farm just a minute. Over the last 50, 60 years, I drive by the farm up there, and I think, what a beautiful place that is. I'd love to live there. I wish I could afford it. And I remember Mr. Patterson leased his property out on Walden Avenue, went up there and bought the farm, and I thought, man, what a great swap, and that's a great place to be. But things change. Your county commissioners must swear to uphold the Georgia Constitution and the United States Constitution. Is that correct? Okay. Is that correct? And in doing so, you say that you're going to be fair to not just a group of people, but all people, not just the rich and the powerful. Is that a fair statement? Now, a TAD, as far as I'm concerned, is just a tax avoidance device. It was passed in Georgia to try to eliminate blighted areas in downtown Atlanta, and I think it was in 1985. Y'all have heard this. Some of these people probably haven't. But here's what you had to have to make it a blighted area. And like all things political, they start out with maybe good intentions, and then they wind up in the hands of the rich and the powerful, and everybody takes advantage of it. Unemployment are poverty rates in the identified district. Okay, that's number one. Number or percentage of buildings which are substandard, vacant, and are required clearance or renovation. A lot of them, right? Land and buildings have remained unimproved for a certain number of years. Growth has not been stable or decreasing in past years. And I believe Georgia, the blight finding also requires a public hearing and requires a recommendation from the Planning Commission that their blighted and substandard criteria do apply to the area in question. Has that been done?
Not by us, that's Varnell's responsibility.
And you're required to do that by law, so I understand it. If I missed something, just tell me if I have. I'm just here to talk. I'm not an attorney.
You'll have to ask Varnell, they created the district.
What's that?
They had a consultant, I believe. Varnell hired a consultant. But
So really, what we've done here is we're kidding ourselves. There's no more blighted area than this is New York City. We know that. And why are we doing it? We're doing it because we can. And I think we're doing it without the voice of the people. And you know what we used to call that? Anybody know? Peonism. Yeah, don't laugh.
okay, you're over 5 minutes, so wrap up your
P-E-O-N-I-S-M. Peonism.
wrap up your thoughts. You're over 5 minutes.
Pardon?
You're over 5 minutes, so just finish your thought.
I'm sorry. Okay.
Finish what you're
Well,
saying.
peonism has been, I think it's about 1867, peonism was declared illegal. So what I'd ask us to do is to consider the fact that you still need to answer to the voters in your district rather than just the people who are rich and famous and powerful who are trying to get something for themselves. Now, we all know that's what's happening up there. I've ridden by there just recently. There's not a blighted area there. It never has been. How did you guys get the idea that that was a blighted area? I know you're not going to answer that. And the redevelopment cost, I like that one. See if I can find my number right quick.
Okay, you're way over time. So
Not
wrap
way over
it up.
time. Okay, I'm sorry about that.
You're the only person that's gone over, just so you know.
Okay. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
And Dalton voted for the TAD.
My name's Daniel Alt. I live on 1060 Coda Beaverdale Road. I had a whole thing I was going to say, but I actually was hoping I could just get some questions answered by you gentlemen. So the first time this TAD came before this council, I think it was last year, I believe, or something like that. Was it also an intergovernmental agreement, or okay, so it was an intergovernmental agreement. Now in 2021, the vote that happened where the people shot down the ability for you gentlemen to create TADs. Now, that happened in 2021, correct? And this TAD, this intergovernmental agreement, started about that time. Is that correct? In that same year? I heard at the school board, they said they've been working it for 2 years, and I would assume my math's good enough for that, I hope.
Yeah, something like that.
Okay. Does it strike you as odd then, or curious, shall we say, that in the same year that you gentlemen, for the second time, were not allowed to create TADs, we have another body working, the school board, I guess, was it the school board working with Varnell, or?
I don't speak for the school board. I can't
Okay,
answer.
all right. So
Varnell was creating the TAD.
Varnell was creating the
2 years
TAD,
ago.
right? Because Varnell got the ability to do that in 2014. Now, unincorporated Whitfield County voted no in 2014, and we also voted no in 2021. So my biggest question is money, taxpayer money from Patterson Farms, is the taxpayer money that's going to be going toward this TAD, would it have gone to the greater good of the whole community, i.e. the school board or other things?
Future revenue?
The current revenue that comes from the TAD, the money that is used from the TAD, does it go to the developer in lieu of the greater part of the county? Do they still pay their overall county taxes, or is it just extra city taxes to Varnell that are being siphoned off for the TAD? Does anyone know?
Only the
My
extra tax.
understanding is the board will vote to let Varnell have a portion of the property taxes for the homes that are now there.
Mhm.
So it won't come to, we'll say, the county's coffers. It
And
will-
that's what I was.
A portion. yeah.
Right, and that's what I was asking, because it does seem as if the entire county, or the entire unincorporated county, have voted twice in elections on the ballot, and have said, no, we don't want this. But yet, what we're talking about, and I think 3 of you gentlemen are probably for this based on what I've heard, are in favor of still approving this, where we are going to be taking money that would go to the greater county's coffers for the service of the whole county, specifically that, 58% of the county that said no to this? Do we think that's right? Do we think that's upholding of your role to represent us, to basically go against the wishes of the people of this county and say, no, we know better than you. We'll take some of the money that would go for your good away and we'll give it to this developer. Take it away from the schools, take it away from whatever. Do you think that's right? Do you think that's upholding what you gentlemen are supposed to do?
It's up for a debate, but what do I tell the people in Varnell?
Yeah.
They
If,
wanted it.
if they want to do their TAD and they want to do a TAD, that's fine. But when we start taking money for the entire county, that's when I have an issue with it. They have the power to create a TAD. 2014, they absolutely do. But for the county, we voted it down twice. So why should we be impacted? If Varnell wants to take some of the tax dollars that go to Varnell for this TAD, more power to them. If they want to improve their county, that's fantastic. I love it. But why should the rest of you say the rest of the county isn't impacted, at least that's what I heard. But it's clear that the rest of the county is impacted. We're losing money to the schools. We're losing money that would go into the county's coffers. So where's the justification for that? How can we vote on this and say yes when we said no twice? I mean, are you upholding your roles as elected representatives? And if we can't trust you to uphold our vote on this, what can we trust you to uphold our votes on? Thank you. That's all I got.
Any other in opposed? He's coming up, ma'am.
Carol Matthews, Marlow Drive, Cahata. I agree with the gentleman that just spoke a few minutes ago that people keep saying the North End is a blighted area. My husband and I just came here about 4 or 5 years ago, or 3 years ago actually, and I can assure you, we did not choose to move into a blighted area. We chose to move into a rural area, not a commercial area. We had a choice when we decided to downsize that we could go in commercial, we could go to some place like Patterson if we chose, or we could go wherever we would like to go. But we chose rural because this is the way we like to live. This is the way a lot of other people like to live, and that's what the North End is. Outside of this county, you are already known, Whitfield County is already known as a higher tax against some of the other counties around, because we lived in Catoosa County all of our lives. So we didn't choose a blighted area. Also, when we talk about the TAD, we told our children growing up to think something all the way through. The TAD, while you say it does not affect us as an extra tax, it does. Because what happens is when it goes into this commercial buildings or the other modern houses or whatever it's going to go to, it raises, as they've mentioned already, the property values of everything around, and therefore it raises our taxes in the long run. Our taxes last year was $575. The bill that we got this year is $1,008. That's a little bit more than 22%. Now, I sent a note to all of you gentlemen, and all of it came back as undeliverable, except Mr. Jensen did answer, and he said that there's supposed to be maybe a reduction later. But that's a lot. That's a big jump, especially for senior citizens, and that's many people around. You talk about it's going to go into recreation areas, open to the whole county. Well, the advertisement for Patterson Farm is that they're going to have playgrounds and green spaces for the people that move there. Well, I think they think it's supposed to be for the ones that's living in that complex, not open to the whole county. So if they go out, they want their children on the playground, it's going to be taken up by other people in the county, should they get in their car and drive a couple of miles. As far as taking money away from the school system, I have 20 years in the Catoosa County school system as a parapro. So education is very important to me. And when a reporter goes out almost nightly on the news and asks our young people who the first president was, who the current president is, where the Tennessee River is, and they can't answer it, I'm thinking the school board better keep their money and put it back in education, because something's going wrong. I believe that if a person wants to build a commercial building, they want to open up a business, and I had a business for 30 years, my own, I think you pay for it yourself. And one of those townhouses in Patterson Farm brings in $1.5 million for the 5 units that's in there. I've looked it up and I've added the numbers. If those developers cannot make enough money to put in their own playgrounds and their own walking trails or whatever else they're supposed to do, then there's something wrong with their business ethics, and they can't figure it out. And as far as Mr. Slatton is concerned and what I saw, whether you are compromised or not, I don't know. But I was always raised that a good name is worth great riches. So therefore, it's up to your conscience whether or not that your employer will make more money, which in turn helps you or not. I don't know. I just read that, but feed your own conscience for that. And for anybody else, any developers, anybody else that's a possibility of making anything for yourself, that's not right, because you are a representative of all of us, not just a few, but everybody. The people at the North End that don't want all those commercial buildings, like the young couple. She chose that for the open spaces, the good air. If you don't want to live in a crowded condition, look at the fire in Hawaii, in Lahaina. It was taken, devastated. One tornado that touched down in Patterson Farm, hundreds of people. A lot of us don't want to live in those kind of complexes and be up to those kind of dangers. I ask you not to vote for the TAD, to give money to one or two single people when it's taking it from all the rest of us at one point, future or otherwise. Thank you.
Good evening, guys. My name is John Alt. I live on top of the hill up on Cohutta. So here's what we got today. We have what I would consider to be an ethical dilemma, okay? And that's concerning the TAD and the IGA for the current Patterson Farms / Varnell. I'm not going to reiterate the fact that it was voted down twice, but since that time that it was voted down, it seems that there was chatter in between the different entities. City of Varnell, Chamber of Commerce, the school board, okay? Even though the voters said, we don't want this up in the north end of the county. You guys were not able to bring the TAD back up unless something came across your agenda where a city, anything that's not unincorporated, for you guys to even have any say in a TAD that came back up before you, okay? The problem I have with this TAD, the problem I have with the IGA is, in 2014, you guys authorized about 4 cities to do a TAD. Patterson Farms came up running about 2018, 2019. And so here we are 4 years later, and now all of a sudden we want to do a TAD. So we know the developer's struggling because he can't do the commercial development, it's noted in his statements, without the TAD. So as a developer, I really find it hard to believe that you don't have some type of a business model or figure out how you're going to do everything to make ends meet. Okay, that just doesn't make sense to me. Businesses don't operate like that. Jevin, you ran Ace Hard for a long time, and I'm not singling you out, but it's like that business model just doesn't work. You have a strategy, and the strategy to ask the school board and the county to give up money in hopes of generating 20 to 30 million of retail spacing and helping the community to grow, to spur future development, even though other areas in the north end still have open retail spaces, and some of those places don't even have tenants since they even came online. So this just doesn't make any sense to me in regards to this, why we're going to compensate somebody who maybe made an error in judgment or whatever the case is. People live in the north end of the county for the simple reason it is very quiet, it is very peaceful, and we moved up there. As these TADs try to go through, the IGAs try to go through, you start to affect our way of life. You start to affect our livelihood, okay? If people want to go spend $450,000 on a house, good for you. I got no problem with that until you start affecting where I live in my neighborhood. And surely but shortly, development will come out that way, and we understand that, okay? But what is fixing to happen with these IGAs and the TAD, it's the wrong decision at this time. And we should not give somebody money that could go to the school board, it could go to other things that the county needs, okay? And it shouldn't go to the developer, because if I'm a developer and you do it for him, guess where my hand's coming next? I'm gonna try to do the same doggone thing. So let's not create that rabbit hole, because I definitely don't want to go down that rabbit hole. In the end, it really comes down to moral fiber, okay? Who of you up here has that moral fiber to look at everything that's going on with this and go, you know, this is not a good idea, and it's not the right time. Because you got to look yourself in the mirror tomorrow morning after this vote, and you have to answer to your constituents and the taxpayers about this vote. Thank you.
I'm Suzanne Baggett. I live on Albertson Drive. And I'm not under the illusion that the people against this TAD are going to be successful tonight. But there's some things I want to get clear that I understand. The money that the county is going to offer to put in the recreation facilities there, that means anybody in the county can use those facilities at no cost.
Correct.
That's correct.
That's in the writing. It's in
I
writing.
want that on the record. So that's the swimming pool, everything.
Now, the swimming pool is in the residential area.
Didn't it have swimming up here?
No. I can show it to you, but no.
Okay, so
Fountains,
the
it has
county,
fountains and
the
water, fountains.
citizens of the county can use what free then up there? The walking trails?
Yes. The music theater, the free parking, water fountains, concerts, those type of things.
Okay. All right, thank you.
William Richards, resident of the Lakemont neighborhood. To all those who support this TAD, would you be willing to write checks of your personal funds to these developers? Or must the fulfillment of your ambitions and that of the developers be dependent upon the exploitation of the taxpayers who have no choice? Thank you.
Any other in opposition?
Hi, good evening. My name's Jen Clare, and I'm a real estate agent in the area. And I just had a question. I've put a lot of veterans up here, and I'm concerned about the taxes, which will increase, I assume, because this is you're saying they won't increase? Or are they
Where's the
capped?
person- There's no TAD surcharge or anything like that that will appear or be charged. That's not legal.
Well, this is just an interrogatory question, clarification, if you will. I'm just curious, the value of the land will be substantial, so therefore, the land around all the residential homes would be affected with a tax increase. That would be inevitable, correct? Or are you gentlemen saying you're going to cap the taxes? I'm not sure.
We are not in charge of assessments, so we can't cap assessments and we don't set the assessments.
So I look at assessments every day, and every day they're going up and up and up.
The whole state, that's the whole state of Georgia.
So I just wanted to make that clarification because most veterans are going to have to leave your area. So I thought this was the Deep South. That's why I came back here for the Bible Belt because I loved it from Northern Virginia after having lived here 03 to 06. Next thing I wanted to present is I lived in something such as this that's going to be constructed, and there you say you're not for opioid use. Well, I just want to let you know drugs will be rampant in a facility that has condos in it that are not supervised properly. So a lot of folks in the city moved out of the city to come here because nothing's regulated. And I'm just letting you know that drugs are a problem in this state. The drug cartel is here. And I lived here 03 to 06, no drugs were going on. I didn't even call a police officer. I came back in 12 after Obama's era. Somebody died of an overdose right outside where I lived. And I'm concerned about that in an organization, a situation which you're constructing. I would be aware you're going to have private security all the time. So I see people dying of heroin, it's going to be up in this area too. Have a blessed night.
Okay, we've been going for over an hour. Is there somebody has something they really need to get out and say?
I do.
Well, we'll have plenty of discussion amongst ourselves.
Before we vote.
Well, yeah, of course.
Okay, just want to be sure.
Now we have our auditors' final presentation. Muldens and Jenkins, or whatever used to be called a CAFR. I know it's not called that anymore, but we still call it that.
Yes, it is an ACFR now.
Yeah.
So, good evening, Chairman and members of the board. My name is James Bentz. I'm a partner with Malden and Jenkins, and I served as your engagement partner for your 12/31/22 audit. I have to go before you tonight what we call our auditor's discussion and analysis. It's the smaller document. You should also have a copy of your annual comprehensive financial report, which is the ACFR Chairman Jensen referred to. So I'm going to flip through that. I think there's some slides up on the screen as well, but do plan to go through the AD&A as we call it. So if you have any questions through there, please feel free to interrupt. But just to kind of touch real quick, again, I'm the partner with Malden & Jenkins. We're a regional firm with 13 offices in 6 states throughout the Southeast, and we serve over 650 local governments on an annual basis, and obviously Whitfield being one of those. All of our audits have 2 partner involvement. Again, I served as your engagement partner, meaning I'm responsible for the financial statements. And then we also have a quality control partner who, on the back end of the process, reviews to ensure that we've dotted our I's and crossed our T's to ensure that we've met all the reporting standards. And Christopher McKellar served that role for us. As clarification and just to make sure that all parties know, we are your external auditors. So the financial statements are prepared by your management team, and as your external auditor, it's our responsibility to issue an opinion on your financial statements as to whether or not they're materially correct as presented in accordance with generally accepted auditing standards as well as government auditing standards. And so in that, again, we give reasonable assurance on the materiality of the financial statements. We don't test every transaction, and therefore we don't give absolute assurance on the financial statements. Included in your financial statements are the numbers for the Whitfield County Department of Public Health. They are a component unit of your report, and they are audited by their own auditor. They are outside of the scope of your audit contract, and we don't audit them, but we do issue our own opinion based on their auditor's financial statement report. You received an unmodified opinion, which is a clean opinion, stating that the financial statements as prepared by your management team are materially correct as presented in accordance with generally accepted auditing standards and generally accepted accounting principles. Along with your financial statement audit, anytime you have federal expenditures which exceed $750,000, you're required to get what's called a single audit and a compliance audit in accordance with the uniform guidance. You did have federal expenditures which exceeded that threshold this year. And as such, we audited your coronavirus state and local fiscal recovery funds, which is the money you spent under the ARPA budget allotment. And so we issued an unmodified opinion with no compliance findings on those expenditures as well. I will flip over to our page 8. And just page 8 and 9 gives you kind of a snapshot, if you will, of your general fund. So obviously, on an annual basis, anyone that wants to look at a local government between different local governments, they all have general funds. So that's the easiest place to kind of look at continuity between reporting entities. And you'll see for your general fund, very typical of a local government here in Georgia, your property taxes are your most significant revenue source for the year, with your sales tax being second for your general fund. On page 9, you can kind of see how those expenditures were allocated for the year. And on page 9, you'll see very consistent again with local governments that have SPLOST tax dollars in play. The majority of your general fund dollars are being spent on public safety and health and welfare services, with obviously a lot of your infrastructure projects being funded outside of the general fund through your SPLOST dollars. On our page 10, one thing I did want to touch on here, we've got your fund balance analysis. So for your fund balance at December 31st, 2022, your fund balance was about 70% of your annual expenditures. And so what that means is for a local government, a lot of times you think that might be a high number for a December year end, but you have to keep in mind with 50%, it's roughly 56% of your revenues coming from property taxes. December 31st is usually your most cash-rich point in time, and so a lot of that fund balance has to carry you for the remainder of the year because, again, 50% of your revenues have just come in with your property tax collections. So you're sitting in a good place, but 70% doesn't mean you have excessive funds that you can go spending right away. Those are being used in your next fiscal year. So on page 11, you'll see the slide that's up on the chart for the last 5 years. I'm sorry, up on the slide. For the last 5 years, you'll see your analysis of where your revenues and expenditures have been for the general fund, and you've been fairly well to breaking even with this last year, adding about $3 million to fund balance for your general fund. On page 12, page 12 and 13, we've got some kind of informational bullets here just to keep governance informed. GASB, which is the accounting standards setting body, does set the accounting standards. They've been very busy. They've actually kind of slowed down a little bit. So we've currently got statement number 94 through 101, which will be applicable for the county to implement over the next couple of years. Those have been communicated to management, and as those implementation dates come, those are items that we try to work with management to make sure they're aware of the new accounting guidance ahead of time, so there's not a late implementation on those. With that, the last couple of slides I've got, pages 15 and 16, just give a little bit more information about some of the additional services Malden and Jenkins offers. We are your external auditors, but we do have other advisory services and information technology services that we're trying to bring to local governments. Again, with 650 clients, we want to try to be a one-stop shop for any needs that you have throughout the year and throughout your operations. So if there are any additional services that the county's in need of, we want to make sure you're aware that we are more than just an assurance firm. So with that, if you all have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Yeah, I want to know why the audit's late.
Sure. So your audit is as your external audit, your audit is reliant on the internal process of preparing the financial statements and getting your year-end records closed out. You all have a decent amount of activity that actually is maintained outside of your finance department, and the finance department relies on other agencies to provide that information to us, or to them, so they can provide that information to us. And so this year, we had some delays in getting information for the audit from the tax commissioner's office, from the capital asset records, and then the schedule, we call it the schedule of expenditures of federal awards, which is your summary of your federal expenditures for the year that we need to be able to complete the audit. That information came later in the year, which then, as we got to the end of June, delayed us being able to prepare the reports for management's internal review.
Can we get, it doesn't have to be tonight or anything, but can we get those milestones and the dates that we have to provide them to you? So we do our part, and then we can hold you accountable for finishing it on time, because I think it's been 3 years. So if it's something we can control and we know in advance, we can tell these departments, but we can't just keep being late every year.
Absolutely. That information is provided to finance along the way, but we can certainly provide it to you all as well.
And we want to know when we get close and we start to miss, we need an alert from our staff and your staff both that we're late and we're waiting on X or Y or whatever the case is.
Mr. Civic, were you aware of this also, or is this bringing it to your attention?
I don't want to get into personnel issues, but I was aware of it.
Okay, thank you.
And
I didn't expect you to either, by the way.
All right, we're going to be a team, but we're going to get it on time next year. All right.
Absolutely. And I've already met with management to go over action plans with the current management. Yes, sir.
For the coming year. We've only
Yes,
got
sir.
5 months left, so it's going to be a year before we know it. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions for our auditor?
I'll make a motion, we accept the auditor's report.
I think I've got an agenda item on it.
Yeah, it ain't time yet.
Not time yet.
Yes.
It's not time. But
Thank you all.
I do have it on the list.
Well,
Thank you.
7:45, I thought it was time.
When will we have an electronic copy? I know citizens like to download it. You have it now? Okay. So we'll have it up on our website here this week, and we have a couple paper copies, but not very many, but it will be generally available to everyone in case you're curious about what his questions, or if you want to read the other 75 pages that he did not cover. You can have access to it. All right, our next agenda item is the intergovernment agreement. Plenty of discussion, plenty of emails and phone calls before the meeting, and an hour of talk. So before we entertain a motion, what's the discussion? Go ahead.
Who makes up Patterson Farms LLC? Who are the members of that LLC? Patterson Farms LLC, is that, have I got that wrong? Is there anybody here representing them?
I can represent them if you would like.
No, thank you. Is the person that owns the LLC here?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I've got the name wrong then, and I may be pronouncing it wrong. It says all the LLCs are owned by Alahi or Alakai Honing. Is he here? He's here as well, yes. Okay.
Did you have a question for him?
Yeah, I've got a couple of questions.
It's up to them if they're willing to answer.
Sure. Do you have children, Mr. Honing? What?
Come to the microphone if you don't mind.
I'm blessed with children and grandchildren. To your question.
Do they live here in the States?
No.
Where do they live?
In Israel.
Are you a resident of the USA?
Yes.
How long have you been a resident?
I came to Dalton around 17 years ago.
17 years ago.
And
So were any of your children or grandchildren educated through Whitfield County schools?
Not in Whitfield County schools, but at the state of Georgia.
Okay. We have a mutual, well, I think a friend. My father-in-law, do you know Herschel Wade Jr.? Do you have a yarn company?
I beg your pardon?
You don't have a company that sells yarn.
I used to do it for a few months, yes.
Okay. Do you think you can make this happen without the taxpayers' $2 million? Or are you hurting that much financially that you just probably won't make it without it?
The math, as I believe everybody here knows, is that cost of building commercial is around, let's call it $250, maybe $300 square foot. That's about the cost. So let's go to the lower end of the 250. Now, it depends on what you want to build. The word commercial center is like asking, what is the cost of building an apartment? Is it the apartment here in Dalton, Georgia, or is it overlooking the nice parks of New York?
I'm concerned with Dalton, Georgia, Whitfield County, and the education, number one, of our children. And number two, the taxpayers.
You asked me a question.
Right. So we don't need to worry about Atlanta or anywhere.
I understand. You asked me a question. When you say this and you say commercial center, the question is, what is the this? And I've heard people that objected it. They said that there are vacant spaces in Cleveland Highway. The question to be asked is why they are vacant. This is question number one, and everybody can think for himself why they are vacant. The cost of building a nice commercial, unlike anything that you have today on Cleveland Highway, is, I will go with you on $250 square foot. Now you have to lease it. So when you lease it, today the rent in this part of the county is around $12, maybe even $15. I assume it will be closer to 12 because of a very high HOA that the commercial people will have to pay. And I saw the question mark on your face. The question mark, why will they have to pay a very high amount of HOA? And this is because of the activities that we are going to have there. So let's say I will get 12. In your profession, you know, you have to take a few percent for occupancy, you have to take a few percent for reserve. Let's say that the annual income per square foot that costs $250, and this is the low side, will be 10. You know what? Will be 12, which will not be. But take 12 and take 250, and you say what? The return on the investment will be more than 20 years? If God really, if Lord's willing to help us, it will be only 20 years? And the question is really, what is the this? And what is the plan to have for the commercial? And what is the plan to have, as Chairman Jensen said, recreation? And this is the question. The question is very simple. What do we want to have?
That's your question. Respectfully to everyone in here, I think you can make it. You're a successful man. Y'all, you know, you've done a lot of great things.
Thank you.
And I don't know if you know the story behind Whitfield County Schools. And I can't speak for them, that's their business. But I've got to believe that you're giving enough that you don't need $2 million from us. That's all. That's all.
This is your opinion, and which I respect. But the numbers that I just gave you do not support this opinion. But I respect your opinion. $12 to get rent on something that cost on construction cost of $250 without the cost of the land. Do you have many customers that will go for it?
I'm more of a residential realtor, okay? And you're doing great.
I know.
You're doing great with the residential part.
Thank you.
So would it hurt you that bad? And I mean, just to build out with the houses, save a little of it, and once it really gets going, let free enterprise work.
So then is the suggestion that I will invest $250 plus land per square foot and get rent of $10 or $12. I respect your opinion.
Right. So you are saying the taxpayer should support you personally?
I say that the amount of tax money, that the tax is not a new tax and nothing to do with the residents of Whitfield County. There are newcomers that come here to live here. So this is fact number one. And fact number two is that the commercial will create revenues which are going to be in tens of millions of dollars over the years.
Over 20, 30, 40 years from now, the biggest concern for me, the people right now, not 20, 30, 40 years.
May I just?
So you should be concerned about the school that you're really, I am not cynical. I appreciate what you say about the schools. But look at the school situation here, analyze it, analyze how many new children, new pupils, new students you are having here, analyze the support that the state and the federal is giving to our schools, and then see if you really do not need the young professionals and the young families to come with their children.
How much of the Whitfield County budget goes to the school system?
No,
No,
it's a separate tax.
Right.
yeah.
The biggest cost of government in general are schools.
Very good, and I support it.
One of the things that we feel strongly about is that this project actually increases revenue to our community, not only in the long run, but starting immediately. And we also believe that development will happen on the north end of the county. In fact, planning for development on the north end of the county started decades ago when they widened Cleveland Highway to make room for that. And there are 16,400 cars that go past Patterson Farms every day. There are thousands of people who visit Edwards Park who are not from our community, who come here for tournaments, and they spend hours, sometimes sleeping in between, when they could be spending money in Whitfield County. We believe that what we're doing there will have a net positive impact on Whitfield County, not just in the long term, but starting immediately. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I'm making the following motion to be placed in the minutes of the Board of Commissioners.
Some more talking to do.
I've got something to say too. Oh, I thought he wanted to make the motion. You're not making a
Well,
motion.
you are making a motion?
I am.
He was
Oh, I thought
making,
you were making a motion to include your statement in the minutes.
No, I'm making a motion for the TAD.
Oh, okay.
Oh, you're cutting us off.
I'd like,
Well, there's a
I'd like-
discussion after that.
Keep talking.
Go ahead, Greg, you're next.
okay. You know, I'm delighted that these folks want to do a development. I'm just not delighted that they want us to help pay for it. The biggest reason is because our voters have said no twice. And, you know, if we go against what they said, are they ever going to believe us on anything like our splost? I mean, yeah, if they build this thing, I'll be up there supporting the businesses that's there. But I can't support it because the voters have said no. Barnell's voters said yes, so Barnell could do it. I don't control the schools. I don't like what they done, but, you know, I don't have any say-so with the schools. But I do have say-so here, and I'm going to voice my opinion. Thanks.
Would you like to make a comment?
I don't have a comment.
I guess I was just listing for, you know, this is the fifth TAD. This is not the first TAD or the second TAD. This is the fifth TAD in the county. So I'm happy people are interested and did their research and having opinions on it. But I didn't hear anybody say, you know, these other four TADs have caused a huge problem for the city of Dalton or for the county. For, you know, our tax dollars, we're part of all those four TADs. So this is not like this is brand new, some first time ever happened in the county, both before the first vote and before the other vote, which was countywide, unincorporated. But Dalton has four TADs. And I haven't heard anything from the Dalton City Schools that they were crushed, that it hurt X, Y, Z, or hurt somebody's budget, or hurt the city's budget. And it definitely hadn't hurt our budget, because we're managing it, and we've done 3 tax cuts in the last 3 years. And hold us accountable. In 2 or 3 weeks, we'll have a special call meeting. We'll cut the taxes for the 4th time in a row. So your taxes are not going up because of the Dalton TADs. And I'm not aware, I don't see how they could possibly go up because of Arnell, because it's not legal. That's why. You don't have to take my word for it. Look at the 4 Dalton TADs. Where has your millage rate gone up because of that, or the city schools of Dalton? It just so happens it's the first time for the Board of Education. I get that because they haven't been in there's no school system in Barnell, so that's the first time for them, but it's the 5th time for the Board of Commissioners, so. And again, Dalton voted for it. I get it, that the unincorporated county doesn't want a TAD and they don't want to pay for a TAD. That makes perfect sense to me. Any comments from you?
You got any comments?
I mean, I agree. There's 4 that the city of Dalton have done.
And I was certainly willing to listen if somebody said, here's the data, these TADs have caused damage.
I'm like you, I have not I've got a nephew in the city school system. I have not heard of the city schools being financially impacted by Hammond Creek that I drive by every day, what's going on.
Oh,
You know,
yeah,
so,
they've got a $50 million school.
so what I've heard tonight, I do not live in the city of Varnell. I live in the unincorporated part of Whitfield County. But I'm hearing a lot of comments about people that do not want it, and their vote should count no, but disregard the citizens of Varnell that voted yes.
Right.
So who are we to tell the citizens of Varnell, no, we disagree with you?
Like we did Dalton.
No, Barnell could still do it. They don't have to have us to do it.
They're just using the county's money.
For the, 50 people that live there right now. That's what we're talking about as of this moment. Hopefully there'll be more, but there's 50 people that live there right now.
In the district.
In the district, yeah, that's all we're talking about.
TAD district. Mr. Chairman, I'm making the following motion.
No, hold on, unless we're gonna talk some more after you make the
can.
motion.
You can, yeah.
Okay.
Will.
I'll continue. I'm making the following motion to be placed in the minutes of this Board of Commissioners meeting. A written copy will be provided to the county clerk. I'm making a motion to approve the intergovernmental agreement as written between Whitfield County and the city of Varnell related to the tax allocation district and the Patterson Farm request. The property is identified as Patterson Farms, situated in the city of Varnell. The Varnell Council has previously approved the TAD and has requested Whitfield County participate in the TAD, just as has occurred with multiple TADs with the city of Dalton. The project creates the type of neighborhood not currently available in Whitfield County and offers different housing types at various price points. The project offers retail and recreational opportunities. The retail offerings will produce new sales tax not currently being captured. Subsequently, there will be an increase in property taxes, adding value to the digest. The digest increases will create opportunities for millage rate decreases. This occurs due to new organic growth in the area. Real property improvements are the best investment for the tax digest. The TAD agreement limits the amount of funds that can be applied, limits the timeline that funds can be allocated, and dictates what funds can be used for. Eligible recreational expenditures will benefit both the residents of this development and the citizens of the entire county, since they will be open to all. The success or failure of this development will have no adverse effect on county taxpayers or property values, since Whitfield County is not and will not be liable for any outstanding expenses, work, or bonds. The long-term positive effect is a larger tax base and the ability to lower taxes.
There's a motion to approve the intergovernment agreement as written.
I will second that motion as Barry read it.
Second by Commissioner Staton. Is there further discussion?
Yes.
Take your time.
Here's what it comes down to for me and probably the majority of taxpayers in Whitfield County. Do any of y'all know how much SPLOST revenue has been generated so graciously by the taxpayers since October of 2020?
A little over 60 million.
60 million. That's a bunch of money. Of course, 2 million's a bunch of money to me. So far, roughly 62 million since 2020. Who knows when the current SPLOST expires?
Next year, September next year.
Next year, 24.
September of 2024.
That's correct.
Okay. We're getting ready, God willing, to approve a list of taxpayers from the county to recommend what they want to be done with the SPLOS, the next SPLOS, if the county commissioners put it on a ballot. Is that right?
Correct.
Is that,
Yeah, by January.
is that right?
We're forming a committee, yes.
Right. So, and I don't gamble. I play the lottery when it gets real big because that helps my kids with their college education. But anyway, here's the gamble that the current commissioners are taking. If Mr. Honing will not respectively say it's okay, y'all don't have to kick in the $2.5 million. And I don't think he's willing to do that. So, are there three of us that are willing to gamble $2.5 million to give to a private developer and then expect the voters next year to say, yeah, look, we trust y'all, let's give you 60 million more? I don't know. I mean, I do know, and it's a gamble I don't want to have to take. So, $2.5 million now, or potential nothing for us?
Go back a second, John. You talked about the SPLOS revenues. If you don't build Riverbend Park, and you don't build West Side, and you don't build Edwards Park, you don't get to $60 million. Yeah, you're at $30 million because those out-of-state tags are not driving to Whitfield County because they're going to Emerson to play, or they're going to Knoxville, or wherever they go.
Well, we've got the perfect game already.
Yeah, but without the SPLOST, which is, I'm not sure where you're going with that statement, but without the SPLOST, you don't get the park to bring the teams in.
And like I said, increased sales tax revenue is substantial and will be.
Yeah, 60 million's a bunch of money, and that's what, and I understand that's what has helped build on the back of the taxpayers, and I understand we get revenue when people spend money when they come here. My concern is I'm going to have a hard time as a member of this board going before the taxpayers with my hand out as a commissioner trying to explain to them, hey, come on, trust us with 60 more million. You know, we can afford to give a developer $2.5 million. So I've said my piece, and whatever we do, we do. But some of us have an election coming up in 2 years. And I know if I was running, boy, that'd be some powerful stuff.
Prior to this election, you know, I have often said that my vote is not predicated on the fact that I need to get reelected.
Right.
Okay? I have said that publicly a number of times, that my vote on this commission is not predicated on whether I get elected or not.
So what drives your vote?
Well, first of all, just like I said, we're gonna have an increase. The citizens of Barnell have voted for it and asked for us to participate. The city of Dalton asked for it 4 times.
Well, we're not talking about the city of Dalton.
We're talking about
We're talking about giving a private developer $2.5 million.
Those were all private developers too.
Those were all private.
Same concept. I wasn't on the board when they were voted, but they were voted in. And
Wait a minute, you can't talk with one without the other. I mean, they were all private developers the 4 times in Dalton.
Well,
Okay.
course, you're not. Right. We're good.
Other comments? Is there a call to question?
Call the question.
Call the question.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to vote.
There's already, okay. Call to question is the motion. Yep. All in favor of the Varnell intercompany agreement, please raise your hand or say aye. Two in favor. Any opposed, raise your hand or say no. Two opposed. The only way I know to protect the voters of the unincorporated county is to make sure there's no TAD and no money from that goes to Patterson. But the only way to protect the Varnell voters and their wishes is to vote to approve the intergovernmental agreement. We'll move on to the next item.
Oh, 58% doesn't count.
This is our alcohol and beverage permit. The alcohol for AJ Mint Mart. Is there a motion to approve the beverage application?
Motion to approve.
By Commissioner Staton to approve. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Thomas. All in favor, raise your hand or say aye. Raise your hand or say aye. All opposed, no. Passes on a 4-0 vote. Our financial audit, it was presented by Maldens and Jenkins.
I'll continue with the same motion. I'll make a motion that we approve the financial audit as presented from Malden and Jenkins.
Second, but don't be late next year.
Motion by Commissioner Robbins, second by Commissioner Staton. Make sure our IT group gets it up on the internet as soon as it's feasible, hopefully this week. All in favor of approving the financial audit, raise your hand or say aye. Any opposed, no. Passes on a 4-0 vote. We didn't have a planning and zoning meeting this month. It was delayed till September, but there was one annex from Varnell. Varnell's very popular tonight. There's no land use for this one parcel that they wish to annex. Is there a motion to approve the Varnell annexation?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Staton. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Jones. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your hand or say aye. Any opposed, nay?
No.
Passes on a 3-1 vote. Juvenile court. This is a continuation of a grant for the next, starting this fiscal year, running through 2024. We have it today for $42,000. We need to reapply to make sure we can extend that for the coming state year. Is there a motion to approve the applying for the juvenile court grant?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner
Just
Thomas?
applying for it, right?
Just applying so far. There's no, I don't believe, there's no county match. Yeah, I was making sure.
Second.
Yeah, how much is it for?
42,000,
42.
but
Okay.
there's no match.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Staton. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your hand or say aye. Any opposed, nay. Passes on a 4-0 vote. We've been modernizing and updating our Superior Court to put a lot of the records online. We've got digital audio and video and streaming, and kind of the last piece of that is to put signage out there so people can find this meeting. They can find which court they're in, if they have a court hearing or a date on the docket. And there's a company that makes these signs that the judges and our administrator for the courthouse has requested for $41,607 out of our 2020 SPLOS funds. So that'll be digital signage throughout the courthouse.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Staton. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Robbins. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your hand or say aye. Any opposed, nay. Passes on a 4-0 vote. We're working with our transit group. This one is again, applying for a grant. We haven't won it yet. As we move from rural to urban, our transit system may need to be updated so we can provide better routes. And so we're trying to get ahead of that and get some federal funds for our transit group. There is a match on this, but of course we haven't won it, so it's to be determined based on how many applicants and how much we are awarded.
Motion to approve.
It is in the budget. Motion by Commissioner Staton. Is there a second?
I got a question.
Take your time.
Okay, this is gonna grow, this transit, and it's gonna get really expensive really fast.
If we go to the fixed route?
Yeah.
I agree with that.
But keep in mind,
We don't want to unless we're
yeah,
forced.
we're forced to go urban because of the demographics, because of the census. So if we don't do this, we're not going to be eligible for rural transit, so the transit will go away completely. And Ms. Franklin is here, we have a number of people, particularly elderly folks, who use that transit service regularly to go to the senior center, medical appointments or something like that. This is, I understand where you're coming from, but
We're going to delay that as long as possible, right?
This is for Whitfield County only.
But we don't want to shut it down either. Right, right.
This is for Whitfield County only too, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, not this, yeah.
Well, we can walk away later.
Hold on, let our state.
So, two things. First thing is, whoever's applying for the grant, I'll be glad to write a letter to go with that grant. I sit on the Board of Transportation. And the other thing I would challenge you to look into is, there's almost like an Uber situation now that they're using around the state for transit. So instead of having just, I don't know how it's going, but there's pilot programs.
Gainesville, is that the one that had in Gainesville?
Pilot programs across the state that are doing this so that you get away from the fixed thing that scares everybody.
They're not loving that. They're not getting good reviews right now through transit.
Right. So, like I said.
Research, we'll have to research it.
Just something, I'm not saying it's the answer, I just want to let you know that it's going on, and there's people that are running pilots. So when the pilot's done, you can take a look at it and see if that's a solution for Whitfield County.
I think to reassure Commissioner Jones, we can walk away at some later date, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, whenever it gets too expensive.
sure, you could, but I would say we're going to continue to have people who need
The
public
need's not
transit.
going to go away, but
Right.
if it gets like outrageous.
That's a policy decision that you'll make, and you make these decisions every year. Well, when you
1 year at a time.
when you
yeah.
approve a
This is
budget.
only for 1 year, so.
Especially when people get older.
I have a motion, but I don't have a second, by the way. Second by Commissioner Thomas. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your hand or say aye. Any opposed, nay. Passes on a 4-0 vote.
Barry, if you need a ride anytime, you call me and I'll do the same if you're willing to.
I'm willing. As long as I'm able.
This is to true up some ARPA expenditures. These are already existing projects or purchase orders that we've approved in the past, but we want to move these to ARPA. The CHIP grant has been, I guess, moderately successful. The folks that we signed up earlier, now we're ready to move on to the next 3 homes, or maybe 4 even, that we can fix up and help our local seniors, speaking of the seniors. The Edwards Sewer, we have not spent the full amount, but we want to move that to ARP, the repairs that we did do up there that seem to be working so far. And then we also have to pay our district attorney and public defender. I think we've already made those payments, I'm not sure. But regardless, we have to make those, and so we could put that on ARPA as well, as opposed to a general fund.
Bonuses of 91,000?
Those are mandated.
Mandated, yeah, we have no choice.
Who your state?
State of Georgia.
It's not a supplement, these are mandated from the state. Casey, I think, decided that.
Casey approved that.
My one vote.
Your committee, I think that's Entertainment Committee, goes through that. Wow. Yeah, that's fun, that's like the federal government.
I make a motion.
Motion by Commissioner Jones to charge this to ARPA, second by Commissioner Staton. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your hand or say aye. Any opposed, nay. Passes on a 4-0 vote. Kent has maybe passed away in the meantime. He's still with, I don't know if we have questions for him, but this is part of our 2020 SPLOST, the culverts and some of the repairs. There's 3 phases on this.
I prepared a short 20-minute presentation.
Very short, 30 slides, perfect.
So this is the area that floods up Cleveland Highway, the S&W Pharmacy area from North Oaks down to Gillum Drive, which is right next to the bypass. It'll be 3 phases of design. Phase would work from the downstream end to the upstream end. So we would start at Gillum Drive and develop plans to Hollywood, and then from Hollywood to York, and then from York northward.
And this is where we flooded out like Dalton Heating and Air a couple of years ago, or a year or so ago?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
I thought so.
There's been a flooding concern for a
A
couple
lot
of
longer
decades.
than that,
or-
I'm sure, yeah.
Right. And hopefully, this would be a proposed 2024 SPLOST project potentially.
But these are the construction.
To actually do the construction. This is to be ready to do construction at some point in the future.
And they'll provide estimates of costs, so we know what to.
They will. Mhm.
Is there a motion to do the design work on the 2020 SPLOST for $21,180?
Motion to approve.
$22,180.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Staton,
Second.
second by Commissioner Jones. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your hand or say aye. Any opposed, nay. Passes on a 4-0 vote. I just signed that huge contract for the jail, but apparently there was a miss with the lightning arresters.
We left that item off the bid form, and of course, being the location that it is and the height of the building, it has a significant lightning arresting
on that
system
hill.
on it. And so a lot of work to disconnect, remove, then reconnect and have it certified, inspected and certified at the end. It's just an amount that would have been included in the bid had we included it on the bid form.
Yep, yep.
Correct.
So we need to amend the jail roof contract by $45,310, going against the 2020 SPOS.
Motion.
Motion by Commissioner Robbins, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Jones. Any further discussion?
After this vote, I'd like Kent in like 15 seconds or less to answer Tunerville. Is it ever going to get the culvert? They ever going to come back?
I thought we finished it last month. We didn't finish it?
No.
Okay.
After the vote.
All in favor, raise your hand or say aye. Any opposed, nay. Passes on a 4-0 vote. Tunerville?
Yes, sir. So that was in 2 phases. So that phase 1 is complete.
Oh, that's what I thought.
They have to come back and grass the slopes. But the second phase of that is to close Donald Beaverdale Road and make the tie-in on both ends.
Which is the red mud that's sitting out there getting wet every day. Okay.
We are not pleased with their performance. We've had good performance out of them in the past on other projects, namely Hill Road.
Okay.
We did not get good service on this project.
And a roundabout out on Houston Valley Road?
The
What's the next?
preliminary design on that is complete. We got a preliminary field plan review coming up for that. And as far as right-of-way, it should fit within existing right-of-way.
Don't have to
We may
purchase
need-
anything?
We may
Okay.
need construction easements from adjacent landowners, but not right-of-way.
Okay.
So we're gearing up for that to go to bid here in the next couple of months.
Got it. Any other questions for Kent?
We need to speed our guys up that are designing this stuff.
You'll get no argument from me on that. It goes along with all the other increases that we've seen since 2020 in building. There's so much government
Backlog.
funding out there, and we would never consider our projects to be small potatoes, but dollar-wise, compared to all the federal money that's been available, so many designers are covered up with DOT work. It does take longer to get things done.
And we don't want to, because of that, we don't want to make sure we step down in quality, you know,
Right.
Yeah. Or we have to go out of state. I might have to
just
go
to
out of state.
get one. Yeah.
All right, thank you. I think our final item is the SPLOST advisory appointments. I've got the list of our appointees by commissioner and one alternate. And just for your reference, these are the ones that each city or town voted. I guess we can do them as a block, ours as well as except theirs. They've already voted on all of these, except for the alternate for Dalton. We don't have that, but we have everything else. And that way we can get started hopefully around Labor Day, give or take.
I'll make a motion, we accept the SPOS appointees as presented.
Motion by Commissioner Robbins, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Jones. Any further discussion? All in favor to approve the SPLOST committee, raise your hand or say aye. Passes on a 4-0 vote. Is there any public comment unrelated to our agenda items? Nope, okay. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.